To do all of us respond, so that was why.
When you come back over,
It's okay, go ahead. Go ahead, I'm good. Thank you. It's okay, no worries.
On campus at all?
No.
Welcome to Sheridan College's All Candidates Debate. Students Vote 2015.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Chantal Prescott, and I'm a student in my final year of Sheridan College's Broadcast Journalism program. I am so pleased to be opening Sheridan College's first federal All Candidates Debate. We have 3 back-to-back debates. Tonight, we welcome candidates from the riding of Sheridan Colleges as at the heart of Mississauga Centre, Oakville, and candidates from both Brampton South and Brampton West. I would like to welcome our audience of students, as well as members from our community. Thank you. And welcome to our online audience and those of you tuning in to our rebroadcasts via Cogeco and Rogers TV. For those of you on social media, we invite you to tweet us and comment at #StudentsVote2015. Our first debate will be from candidates from Mississauga Centre. Joining us is Liberal candidate Omar Alghabra, NDP candidate Farheen Khan, and Green Party candidate Lynn Nguyen. Conservative candidate Julius Tiangson was invited but unable to attend. We have invited each candidate to make an opening statement, after which we will ask 2 questions that students have submitted. We would like to limit each answer to a minute in which we will give you the opportunity to rebuttal before we move on to the next question. We will then open it up with your audience for your questions. If you go over 1:30 in your responses, you will hear this bell, which indicates that your time is up. So if you could please begin with each of your opening statement. We'll begin with you, Mr. Omar Alghabra. Could you please start us off? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank you for inviting me. I want to thank journalism students for putting this on. My name is Omar Alghabra, and I am the Liberal candidate for Mississauga Centre. I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about myself. I immigrated to Canada when I was 19 from Syria. I pursued my mechanical engineering degree at Ryerson University, and then I later obtained an MBA from York University. During those years, like most new Canadians, I worked at a donut shop, convenience stores, gas stations, and it was that particular experience that taught me the value of hard work and how an opportunity can change one's life. It also taught me a lot about respect and dignity for all. After that, I worked in the energy sector in various roles in the private sector, and I discovered my passion for public service. I got the privilege and the honor of being elected as a member of parliament for Mississauga-Arundel, where I also got to know firsthand how public service can actually help constituents and Canadians and stand up for what's right. My values are, I believe that as a country, we're only as strong as our most vulnerable. I believe that a government has a role to play in promoting prosperity and in ensuring that every citizen has the opportunity to reach their full potential. And I also believe in a confident government that makes its policies based on science and evidence and embraces vigorous debate and dissent. Unfortunately, we have a government that is ideologically driven and is obsessed with dividing Canadians and pitting one Canadian against another. This is the election where we deserve, as Canadians, change. We deserve real change with policies that focus on the best interest of Canadians and promoting economic activities and respect and dignity for all Canadians. And I look forward to our conversations tonight. Thank you for the opportunity.
Lynn Nguyen, could you please go next?
Thank you very much, Chantal. Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to first thank the organizers behind tonight's event for allowing me the opportunity to be here to speak on behalf of the Green Party, as well as the candidate that's running in Mississauga Centre. A thank you to the community here at Sheridan College, to my colleagues here on stage as well, because this is what true democracy and what fair representation should look like. Of course, minus our fourth podium that should be occupied as well. And of course, to the students here in the Faculty of Animation of Arts and Design, and for those that are operating the behind the scenes, because you guys are killing it. I'm so amazed. And last but not least, to our audience members and to every student in this crowd. And for those that are tuning in online, by being here tonight, you're already challenging what it means to be a millennial of this generation. We are breaking that mold of what it means to be apathetic. And you're challenging that today by being here. And I wanted you to know that I'm also part of this generation. We are here to remind ourselves that we're the next generation of critical thought leaders. We are the ones who are going to inherit the next government. We have every right to have a say in what happens on October 19th. And as your peer, I'm running for you. I'm running for every time that you felt unheard or part of a community that's been left behind. I'm currently a student myself at Ryerson University, wrapping up my degree in economics, hopefully by the end of this academic year. And if I do that, I will also be graduating with accumulated student debt and competing with the thousands of other new graduates that are competing for the same jobs, the very same few jobs that are available in the market today. So it's time for change. This is what makes events like tonight so important for you, for the voters. And so tonight I ask of you to listen with open and with critical minds as we take the evening to share ideas together. Thank you.
Farheen Khan, it's your turn.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to Sheridan College and to all the students that are here and working hard tonight. It's really important that we have this critical discussion, and I really value being here and having the discussion with you tonight. Just wanted to introduce myself as well. I'm Farheen Khan, the NDP MP candidate for Mississauga Centre. To give you a little bit of information about who I am, I was born and raised right here in Mississauga. Well, we're in Oakville today, but I grew up in Mississauga. I grew up in subsidized housing. I've gone through poverty and food insecurity, started working at a very young age. I was 16 when I had to make a decision whether I was going to actually continue my post-secondary education or help put food on my family's tables. So I made some really hard decisions, and have worked really hard. After a lot of hard work and dedication, I've also had the privilege of working for some large organizations like the United Way, and have basically managed million-dollar budgets and raised millions of dollars for local and global charitable causes. And so tonight we're here. I'm representing the NDP. I'm very proud to be here on behalf of Tom Mulcair. As you know, the NDP in Mississauga, in the last 10 years under the Harper Conservatives, we've seen a decline in basically the living of what we define living in Mississauga, whether that's affordable housing, affordable childcare, whether it's the loss of jobs or the fact that we have precarious or very little jobs in Mississauga. And it's important for us to actually take a position and actually work to make Mississauga the kind of city that we once remembered it to be, and also to bring us back on track. And part of the reason I'm running is because of the divisive politics that the Harper Conservatives are playing these days. And it's really important for us to have the most marginalized voices in Parliament, so we can actually be the voice that we need to represent in Ottawa, so that no government has the audacity to bring out such racist or discriminatory legislation in the future. So on October the 19th, I invite you to support the NDP and help us form the first government so we can create the Canada of our dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Now on to our first question. Many students are facing large student debts at the end of their post-secondary education. For others, post-secondary education is unaffordable. What is your plan to improve access to post-secondary education and help students deal with their funding education as well as their large debt loads? Farheen Khan, could we start with you for the first response?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we know that as we've seen, and as actually Lynn had mentioned, a lot of students are leaving with student debt after post-secondary. I also know that, having worked at the Canada Student Loan Service Centre many years ago, the kind of struggles that youth have, particularly students after they graduate, right? So they don't have access to good jobs, and we're not really, as a government today, supporting the youth to actually have that. We know that by one of the things that Tom Mulcair actually just released this week for the NDP was to say that we are, and this is something he's consistently said, but I'm really proud to share this with you, that he's actually said that we're going to start to phase out interest on federal government student loans. That's a big part of our platform because it's important for us, and I'm quoting Tom's words here when he says that, we shouldn't be making money off of our students, right, and our young people are important. They're marginalized as it is. It's very important for us to remember that we need to value them. And having been a young person myself, I think it's very important to recognize that. The other thing that we've also talked about is actually talking about creating 74,000 new grants for those who need it the most within the youth population, particularly under the federal government. So that's a new piece as well that we're introducing. Obviously, for us, students are important, so it's also about creating more jobs so that when you actually graduate, you have access to better jobs. So whether we do that through investing in infrastructure, or otherwise.
Go ahead, you can finish.
Okay, investing in infrastructure, or whether that means kickstarting manufacturing again, or just diversifying the economy in many ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Feel free to clap. Lynn Nguyen, could we hear from you?
Sure, thank you. For those in the audience, if you could raise your hands really quickly, who are your students? Who of you would be students here at Sheridan or with nearby campuses? and for those of you that are tuning in at home, this is about 90% of the crowd. We know for a fact that Canada, we have to start investing back into this generation. And with the Green Party, we do have ambitious plans to ensure that us as new graduates, we are ready to not only find meaningful real jobs after graduation, but that we do that in dignified ways. Our plans to abolish tuition fees by 2020 is, again, something that we do get a lot of criticism for. I'll be the first one to admit. However, these are shared practices. These are shared best practices that we are seeing internationally, whether it's in Germany or whether it's in Austria or it's in Finland. We intend by 2020 to see the abolishment of tuition fees, and we start with those that have demonstrated the most financial stress, as well as those in the Aboriginal communities. Those are the two communities that we intend to start with. With current students like you and I, we want a comprehensive debt forgiveness plan. So for students that are seeing debt over $10,000, that is where we hope to cap that amount. Again, it's time that we remove those income barriers. When us with the Green Party, as we phase in this new plan, we hope to remove the income barriers as well as giving a jump start to our new Canadian economy. Give graduates a break with the debt forgiveness program, as I mentioned, as well as eliminating interest on new student loans. Unemployment for Canadian youth, it is at an all-time high, and this is almost twice the national average, and this is simply unacceptable. Okay.
You can
Thank
pick it up during our response. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Omar, could we hear from you as well?
Thank you for the question. It's a very important question, and I think we all agree here. We need to find a way to increase accessibility to post-secondary education. The Liberal Party, and in fact, Justin Trudeau has been speaking about this throughout his first leadership competition, and then after he became a leader. In fact, during the leadership, he made a commitment to increasing accessibility up to 70% of Canadians to access post-secondary education. And we will have announcements coming up soon about specifics and how we can do that. But there is a solid commitment to helping students who want to access post-secondary education to make it easier. Plus, we talked about jobs and high unemployment for young people. And our platform actually has been released on that specific issues. We are committing to a renewed youth employment strategy that will include 40,000 jobs a year for young people, subsidized by the federal government. In addition, or including 5,000 of them would be green jobs. Plus, we're proposing that we give employers a break for up to a year from paying employment insurance every time they hire a young person up to 24 years old. So an employer, every time they hire a new employee, they're expected to pay employment insurance on behalf of that employee. We're proposing that when they hire a young person, we do not ask the employer to pay for that. So that would be an incentive for any employer to hire young people. So we have a focused strategy on making sure that young people who want to access post-secondary education will be able to access it, and make sure that there are no financial burdens or obstacles to get there. Second, that they have access to jobs, because unemployment among young people is incredibly high. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. I'd like you all to have an opportunity now for a rebuttal. We're going to go in the same order. We'll start with you, Fahim.
Sure.
Go ahead.
A couple of things. I just wanted to just mention that one of the things that's very important to us is the fact that my Liberal colleague here is suggesting that we want to be able to create jobs. That's important. It's also important to invest in infrastructure, but we don't want to be leaving a deficit behind, particularly for our young people and the future generations, which is what the Liberal Party is suggesting, $10 billion every year for the next 3 years. That's problematic, and the reality is that at the end of the day, when you come to the fourth year and you're cutting to find a balanced budget, the question becomes, what are we cutting at that time, right? So that's one important thing to note. The NDP also has 40,000 jobs in a youth development strategy that we're talking about. What we have also committed that we will be having a balanced budget at the end of the next fiscal year, which is very important for us. So everything is very costed. What we take from is where it's coming to, and we know very clearly where that's going. The other thing to note is that the NDP has been a big advocate in making sure that internships are paid for, and that young people and students particularly have the same rights as employees do. And we're including things like even sexual harassment as one of the things that to make sure that students and interns are protected. Also, when we talk about infrastructure, we are investing in infrastructure, but one of the things that we are also doing has said that in order to make sure that youth actually have the jobs once we're creating infrastructure, any projects that require $10 million of federal funding or more, there's a requirement that youth have to be hired as apprentices. So that's something that's very important to us as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn?
Thank you. A really quick rebuttal to actually our Conservative colleague here and our current government. One thing that is lacking in our current government is a national plan for a jobs strategy. Putting young Canadians at that, to work by investing in well-paying, long-term, and real jobs. We have made a pledge to commit to $6.4 billion per year, 1 point of our GST, back to municipal infrastructure. We have to bring this back to the communities and understand how we need to not only collaborate, but to listen and to respect to all levels of government in order to make this happen. By supporting our municipalities, we are looking at long-term, meaningful solutions to not just local jobs, but to building vibrant and safe communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Omar?
Thank you. So I'm glad Farheen wanted to create that contrast, because that's actually a worthy debate. It is a worthy debate. What is the role of government at this time, when the economy is hardly ever growing, when young people are unemployed, when there are so many needs that Canadians expect? Is it the right time, at a low interest rate where it's almost zero, is it the right, and when the private sector is not investing enough to jumpstart the economy, is it the right time for a government, on behalf of its citizens, on behalf of its youth, to jumpstart the economy, to invest in our youth, to invest in our infrastructure, to invest in our healthcare? Or is it the right time to say, no, balancing the budget is the most important thing? By the way, after 7 years of deficit, where the NDP and the Liberals agreed, and the Conservatives agreed, that it's time to run a deficit because the economy is slow. So that is a worthy debate. I personally believe that's what I expect my government to do, to step up, invest in our youth, invest in our economy in a short-term deficit, because that's how you actually cover the deficit. That's how you pay down the debt, by growing the economy, by ensuring that our young people have future. So thank you for that contrast, and I leave it up to you to make up your mind about what is really important. What is it that you expect your government to do on your behalf?
Thank you. Now on to our second question. We like to focus on diversity and immigration. According to the 2011 census, almost 63% of Mississauga Centre residents are immigrants. Under Bill C-24, it's much tougher for Canadian citizens to sponsor families. What would your party do to help residents in this situation? Omar, can you please begin?
Sure, thank you. I totally agree with your premise. Not only C-24, but family reunification has basically been frozen by this Conservative government. And this is not only a social imperative. I mean, this is how we built our country, but it also has an economic benefit to our society. When we allow families to be reunited, to be together, it creates harmony, it creates ability for both members of the family, the parents, to join the workforce. So we are committing to doubling the family reunification class. We are also proposing to double resources that we place into the Ministry of Immigration to process these applications much faster than they are being processed now. Second, we totally disagree with the Bill C-24 that creates two-tier of citizenship, where it allows a political minister to revoke a citizenship only of a citizen who has a dual citizenship. So what does that mean? It means if you have dual citizenship, whether by choice or birth or whatever reason, maybe not your choice, your citizenship can be revoked, while a person or a Canadian who does not have a dual citizenship, their citizenship cannot be revoked. So by definition, that is a two-tier class of citizenship, and your citizenship, if you're a dual citizen, is worth less, and that is fundamentally unacceptable. I feel fundamentally un-Canadian, and we must revoke that bill and reform that bill and make sure that every Canadian is a Canadian, is a Canadian, is a Canadian.
Thank you. Lynn?
Thank you. It's a great question, and one that needs dialogue, not just before Election Day, but well after as well. I'm sure a lot of you can understand the same experience that, again, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my parents. If they weren't welcomed during the Vietnamese Boat People movement, I wouldn't be here today, nor would I be here on the stage having this privilege and opportunity to share this platform with two incredible colleagues. We need an overhaul of our Immigration and our Refugee Protection Act. We need a system that will place Canada back to its reputation as a peacekeeping country, one that is compassionate and welcoming to those that are fleeing persecution and violence. First and foremost, and it's a very short answer, we need to repeal Bill C-24, again, which had Omar stated. This allows one individual, our Minister of Citizenship, to revoke the Canadian identity. That's all I have. It's a very short answer.
Short and sweet, thank you. Farheen Khan?
Okay. So to start off with, we all know that C-24, we've already spoken about it. My colleagues have mentioned it as well. C-24 is certainly a very problematic bill that needs to be repealed, and the NDP is also committed to doing that. What I don't understand is that if that's such a divisive, if you're playing into the fear and divisive politics, then why isn't C-51 the same thing, right? We should be repealing both. So that's what the NDP is committed to doing. C-51 is also on our list, and we're going to make sure we repeal that. The other thing to note is that as far as my Liberal colleague here, one of the things that's concerning is that, you know, while we have, while there a lot of promises are being made, we've already seen a retraction in some of and changes to the numbers that are being promised, right? So, for example, I don't know if you've heard, but for children particularly, so Aboriginal children, there was a promise made for education, 1.6 billion. Now it's gone down to 900 million. So my big question would be, what are we going to have to sacrifice? It's great to make lots of promises, but are we actually able to deliver on those promises? So as far as the NDP goes, we actually are very interested in making sure that we increase the applications for immigration to 1% of the population of Canada. We've also said that we're going to eliminate application and landing fees, which is very important for a lot of families. Speed up the family reunification process as well, and also making sure that we simplify the use or the process for visitor visas, and that there should actually be an opportunity to sponsor a non-family member at least once to come to Canada. That's very important as well. So also, I mean, we've always been big advocates of making sure that migrant workers have rights, and that's also an important piece of our platform, and that we would, as I mentioned earlier, and one of the other things that's really important is adoption. International adoption is another big piece for us, so making sure that that process is streamlined and it's actually made easier for families. And finally, we are also, as you know, big advocates of making sure that we have Syrian refugees coming into Canada, particularly at this time, and so we're continuing to work to make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. For rebuttal, Lynn, can we begin with you?
Actually, I just wanted to add on a couple other things and what my NDP colleague had mentioned regarding Bill C-51, because it does go hand in hand in ways that we must fight against these two legislative laws. Repealing C-51 is something that our federal leader, Elizabeth May, has fought for since day one, as it does infringe on our political and civil rights as Canadians that are granted to us under the Charter. We already have effective anti-terror laws that do not trample on our rights in the way that C-51 currently does. And again, to echo the Syrian and humanitarian crisis, this is something, again, that is very close to the work that I do outside of the Green Party, but we must continue this dialogue going well beyond Election Day and ensuring that we are doing our part in the international community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Omar?
Thank you. I'm happy to discuss C-51 and be talking about immigration, and I'm happy to talk about C-51. It's another worthy debate. The Liberal Party, in fact, is the only party who has outlined in details what changes they will make to C-51. The Liberal Party is the only party that's outlined in detail how oversight mechanism will be implemented. So while there's a room for a debate about how to vote for what bill and what portion of the bill you agree with, you disagree with, and I think that's a healthy debate and it's a welcome debate, But I think it's misleading to tell the audience that the Liberal Party has taken the same position on C-51. In fact, everything is out there and detailed in black and white. The amendments that the Liberal Party has tried to table, that the NDP voted against in Parliament, and the explanation and the vast provisions that the Liberal Party will be tabling to amend C-51. So I'm not saying people have no right to disagree with that, but Vic Taves, this was the former Minister of Justice at that time when he tried to implement this privacy bill. When people criticized him, including the Liberal Party, he said, oh, you're either with us or the pornographers. That's an unacceptable logic. That is totally rejected. And I reject the NDP and the Conservatives who are trying to say you are not allowed to have a different opinion. You're either with us or with the terrorists. That's unacceptable. There's room for debate. It's a healthy debate. You can disagree with it. But to say that there's no room for conversation about this is unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Farheen, it's your chance to
All
add.
right. Well, I just wanted to remind my Liberal colleague here that, Mr. Trudeau said that he didn't want to make political hay of the issue, right? And that's not acceptable, and that really questions leadership for me. But anyway, coming back to the issue of immigration, we do have, as I said, C-24 is a big piece of our platform, and making sure, actually, one of the other things that's really important, especially for the Conservative colleague who's not here, is that we're actually talking about reforming Immigration Canada. That's a big part of our platform, making sure that we eliminate the arbitrariness of appeals and of requests that are coming in. Right now, like many things, they're very arbitrary, and they can just, similar to C-51, when we talk about being added to the travel list or the no-fly list, it just basically is based on somebody who can make a decision and add you to the list, and there's really no appeal process. So these are the types of concerns that we have, and just making sure that the other piece, though, that's very important for us is also to recognize, and I've experienced this firsthand, is making sure that we actually hold to account immigration consultants, because we also recognize that there is a lot of fraud that's happening, unfortunately, and we want to make sure that we actually make sure that we hold on to, that we hold true to that as well, and so that while we are encouraging immigration, we want to make sure that we live in an inclusive society, and we want to make sure we're open to everyone. That we want to be clear that we're not that we're looking at the loopholes as well.
Thank you. We'd now like to turn to our audience for your questions. Please direct your questions to a specific candidate. This portion of our debate is open, and candidates, you are invited to jump in and respond and debate the question being asked. I would like to ask that you don't speak over each other so your responses can clearly be heard.
This question is for Lynn Ewan. With the devastating events happening in Syria and the flood of refugees into Europe, how does your party intend to aid the international refugees?
It's a great question, and it certainly does link back to the question that we heard earlier. Canada, we are so rich in our resources, and this goes well beyond what we're looking at in the natural environment, but this is very much about these skills and the value added from our population. As mentioned earlier, specifically to the Syrian refugee, is that we do pledge 40,000 refugee that are fleeing, again, a country that is war-torn over the next 4 years. This, again, is a collaborative piece that we do hope to work with our international allies, because, again, this doesn't just fall within Canada to find a long-term solution. And that is a big part of our platform, is understanding how we work collaboratively, whether that's identifying smart and sound policy that crosses party lines, or whether that's working, again, with our international neighbors. We are part of this community here in Canada as well as abroad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we get a chance to add to it?
I would love to ask questions, but we're going to hear from our studio
Sure.
audience first. Hi.
Hello. My question is actually for the Liberal Party, Mr. Alghabra. There's been a lot of recent controversy surrounding the use and wearing of the niqab at citizenship ceremonies, and I wanted to know what your party's stance was on that and how you plan on handling that situation.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Maybe not everybody knows here about the situation. The Conservative government is trying to ban women from wearing niqab, who choose to wear niqab, during citizenship ceremony. And the court has so far twice rejected their attempts. The Liberal Party has been very vocal from the beginning. That is, it's a discriminatory decision that goes contrary to our values of Charter of Rights and Freedom. And not only that, it also goes against our values of not telling women how to dress and what to do. So while we think and we believe that every new citizen should identify themselves beforehand to make sure that they are the right individual who they say they are, but it doesn't take much to accommodate their religious belief. And we just heard the other day that it was only 2 people, 2 women over the last 3 years who wore niqab. So we're watching here a whole government put all of its effort and make political hay and political football out of a situation where 2 women, because of their own personal belief or religious belief or whatever it is truly, I feel, contradictory to our values, to how we treat each other with respect and accommodation. These are this is what makes us Canadian, and this is what makes us who we are. We celebrate our diversity. So we have been very clear, very vocal about supporting the women's right to choose, and making sure that we respect everybody's faith in dignity and respect.
Great. Can I just jump into that as
Absolutely.
well? I just want to respond to that too. So I wear hijab, obviously. So I'm a visible Muslim woman. And I know a lot of people who are very close to me who do wear the niqab. And we've said the same thing, that, the government has no business dictating what a woman should or should not wear, period. Obviously, for security purposes, if you want to ID somebody, you can. But the process and the ceremony itself is quite long, so they shouldn't have to, be in violation of their own rights, right, to be sitting through that process. Also want to just say, though, that, one of the things, as my Liberal colleague mentioned here, they're trying to make political hay. I think it goes beyond that, actually. They're playing divisive politics, right? And they're singling out certain communities, and this is problematic and has to stop. And the real question is what are they doing it for, right? They're trying to distract us from the real issues that we're concerned about, like our economy, right? The fact that we don't have good jobs and we don't live affordably. And I can tell you, like, as, somebody who is now running federally with this hijab, that, the media is constantly connecting with me and coming to the doors to see what's happening. And they're concerned because they're curious to know, like, is Harper's or Mr. Harper's, fear mongering really working? And the reality is it's not, right? People are super warm at the doors. Nobody's being, rude or hateful in any way, shape, or form. And that's the reality of it, right? So his fear mongering, as much as he's trying to do it, is actually not working. Thanks.
Thank you.
Lynn, was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way that this issue has been politicized, again, with the Harper government. It's starting to create a very hostile and a very emotionally charged environment where it's actually preventing us to working together to prevent this radicalization. So again, I'm going to agree with my colleagues here on stage, is that we have to understand where we draw the line, because there is absolutely no laws that should be dictating the way women should and shouldn't be wearing their garments, because that is their choice. Absolutely.
Sorry, if I can just say one more thing around the issue of women. Sorry.
Open floor.
One of the things also to know is that if the government's so concerned about women and the way they dress, I mean, the reality is, if you look at, like, I come from the violence against women sector. I was at the women's shelter before this, and I was in senior management, and I can tell you, like, the lack of funding that we have for women's issues, particularly, it's ridiculous, right? The fact that the Conservative government has actually voted against having a national violence against women action plan, like, that's disgusting, right? Like, these are the kinds of things, if they're really concerned about women and their rights, then that's where they need to be focusing, right? It's actually making sure that women are safe, and having been at the shelter, I actually worked, it actually got funding to be able to do, in partnership with Status of Women Canada, to actually have a safety audit done of UTM's campus, right? To make sure that women are actually safe. Those are the kinds of things we want to be investing in, right? Not being concerned about what women wear or they don't wear. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anything you'd like to add, Farheen?
No, I think I agree with everything my colleagues have said.
Okay. In relation to the first question that was asked by our studio audience, was there anything you guys wanted to add?
Sure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. It was about the Syrian refugee question. There are moments that reveals a lot about a government or an individual, and that is one of those moments. The tragedy, not only of that little child dead on the shores, but the images of refugees escaping violence and death. That's a moment when I want to see my government show compassion and mercy. And why is it do I want to see this? Because, you know, if they don't have compassion, will they show compassion to me when I need it? It is a test, it's a moment of truth. And we all know, at least I believe in my heart, the Conservatives have failed miserably, and they showed their callousness and their cold heart. And not only did they show that, they started fear-mongering, saying, oh, we should be scared of these refugees because some of them may bring a threat of terrorism. It's totally unacceptable. It is contradictory, again, to our traditions, to our values, to our welcoming nature, to our generous nature. And this is how we built our country. This is historically how we've done it. Refugees come always from troubled part of the world. And yes, we have to do our due diligence, but we can do more, and the Liberal Party has been asking for more. We could do immediately 25,000 government-sponsored, not just private-sponsored, plus private sponsorship. So I think we could do more. We need to rise to the occasion. We need to reveal who we are, because this is not just about Syrian refugees. It is about who we are. And this is what I would like to see our government rise to the occasion and do.
Thank you.
Can I just comment on that
Absolutely.
as well? I appreciate what both my colleagues have said about Syria, absolutely, and it's something that I'm happy that finally the Conservative government has actually said that they would accept refugees. The concern, though, unfortunately, is that they're going to still go through a 9-month process or a year process to finally bring them in because of, again, talking about issues around security and all that, when the need we know is right now, right? So that's a concern. But also I just wanted to make mention that, you know, the other piece is around private sponsored refugees, right? So, you know, we've like, I come from the not-for-profit sector, looking at places like organizations like Lifeline Syria, for example. They're doing really great work, but the reality is that the government, especially now, they've been pushed to a point where they've said, okay, fine, we're going to sponsor government refugees, right? Up until this point, that wasn't the concern, and they weren't willing to do it. And they kept making an emphasis that it's our responsibility as Canadians to make sure that we support Syrian refugees. And if we have the ability to do it, it's fantastic, great, it's good for you, good for us, right, if we can afford to. But the fact of the matter is that having been to some of these workshops now where I'm listening to information sessions on how to become a private sponsor of a refugee, we're talking about sponsoring somebody for a year, a family, and you're paying $36,000 or more, right? Most average people can't afford that, especially in this economy where we're struggling to have jobs and to make ends meet. It's unreasonable for the government to expect that. So I just wanted to make note of that, that's really important for us to realize. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more audience members? Come on up. Come on up.
Hi, my question's for the NDP. According to your platform, your party intends to spend $2.6 billion over 4 years establishing a universal prescription plan. I'd just like to know how you intend to fund that effort, and would it affect other programs currently offered?
Great question, and thank you for asking that. We have a fully costed out program. We have a fully costed out budget, actually, that gives us the information exactly how we're going to pay for all of our programs. So I'll give you an example of that. So the PharmaCare program is something that's new. We're really excited, actually, about being able to support prescriptions for families, because that's really important, right? Not everybody has a medical benefit program, so that's really important. One of the things that we're talking about is, for example, is cutting out the doubling of the tax-free savings account, which is something that really and truly only supports the top 15% of wealthiest people, right? Most people don't have $10,000 to put into a tax-free savings account on an annual basis. One of the other things we've said is that we're going to cut income splitting. So again, it's something that is a tax support to, or tax break to the wealthiest, right? What we have said is we're going to keep it for seniors, because for seniors it's helpful for them as far as their living goes. But those are the kinds of practical things that we're actually getting rid of, so that we can actually invest that money back into PharmaCare. One of the other things to know is also that when we talk about, for the NDP, which is very important for us, is that we want to also bring in fiscally sound social programs, right? This is something that we always talk about. One of the things, for example, is our $15 a day childcare program. So our $15 a day childcare program, the benefit of doing this, and this is why I'm giving this as an example, every time we invest $1 into a program like that, $1.50, for example, in the childcare would come back into the government coffers. And the reason for that is because in Quebec, when we actually modeled this program, when Tom was there in 2006, they actually did the same program and made affordable childcare affordable, and 70,000 moms went back to work. right? When moms are working, they're paying taxes and the money's coming back into the government, right? So these are the kinds of things. And so, that's the same sort of premise that we'll be using for our programs as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other audience members? Was there anybody else that wanted to respond firstly?
Sure, happy to respond.
Okay, we're going to pause.
So
Go
the,
ahead.
the Liberal Party also has an element, healthcare investment. It's mostly focused on home care. As we transition and reform, what the Conservatives have failed to do is modernize our healthcare system. And if you speak to a lot of the hospitals, they tell you there are situations where the patient can be looked after at home instead of looked after at the hospital. But our system has not been modernized to accommodate that. And the Liberal Party has just proposed a plan to work with the provinces on modernizing our healthcare, including creating a bulk purchasing plan with the provinces as well for pharmacare. But I do want to point out to a point, the question is how will the NDP pay for it? It has been a struggle for the NDP making the priority of balancing the budget in the first year. And most critics, most economists have looked at the platform and say, there are holes in this platform. And that's fine, but these are the choices that one makes when you choose to balance the budget on top of everything else. So even the child care program, in fact, the Liberal Party platform has more money in the first year for childcare than the NDP. The NDP's childcare program will not come into fruition until 8 years from now, after the province is signing on and paying at least 40% of the program. So these are important elements. These are good for contrast, good for debate, good for discussion. And I want nothing more than an informed audience to leave here tonight and to make up your mind and perhaps do even more research afterward. But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
If I could just
Absolutely.
really quickly again, with going back to the National Pharmacare Plan, this is an element that's been part of our platform since day one of our announcement, where we have to start defending our public healthcare system again, and not only modernizing the system, but making it more accessible. Again, it's understanding how we can make it affordable for every Canadian. Expanding this coverage for prescription medication, again, this should also include public dental health care for those that are under the age of 18. We want to, again, reinvest back into the youth. So the Pharmacare Plan is, again, something that we are absolutely pushing for with the Greens.
Okay, great. Can I just respond to that as well? So $36 billion actually is what the Conservatives are cutting out from healthcare. They're looking to privatize healthcare, and a lot of people I speak to at the doors are very concerned about that. So that's also very important. So while pharmacare is absolutely important, that's something we're proud from the NDP to have been the ones who introduced Medicare to Canada, and that's something that we're equally as proud of to bring in pharmacare. Also, just wanted to make a note that at the end of the day, we're talking about balancing a budget now, and so we have a concrete costed out plan. The Liberals are saying that they're going to run a deficit. The problem with that is at the end of the fourth year, they're going to want to run actually a balanced budget. So the question is, when that happened the last time, what were the programs that were cut, right? Healthcare was one of them. So just wanted to make a note of that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd like to end this debate with a brief closing statement from each of you. Omar, can we bring in with you?
Thank you. Thank you very much to the audience, to the viewers online, and to the moderators and everybody who worked behind the scene, and to obviously my colleagues. I've enjoyed being here with you, and I just want to say that, there used to be a time when we discussed politics, people would just be bored and have their eyes glazed over. That was a time when politics was focused on boring stuff, like looking after the economy, looking after healthcare, looking after well-being of Canadians. Today, politics has become polarizing. People get worked up when they talk about politics because it's all about attack ads, it's all about pitting Canadian against Canadian, and people are outraged, rightly so. This is the opportunity today. We have an election to send all politicians that this is an unacceptable way of running our government, this is an unacceptable way of conducting politics, and that we want to see change. And my pledge to you and all of my constituents is not to be a robot who goes to Ottawa and recite dead talking points. I will always be a vocal person who will stand up for what I believe is right, who will always be accessible, who will always be willing to engage Canadians and discuss issues that matter, and hopefully we can get rid of the politics of division once and for all and send the message to all parties that it's unacceptable way of running our country. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Lynn, can we hear from you?
Sure. Again, another quick thank you to those that have organized tonight's event, as well as my colleagues here on stage. I think you can get a sense that in Mississauga Centre, it's quite civil when 3 of the 4 candidates choose to participate. So again, another thank you to my NDP and my Liberal colleagues. So tonight's discussion, it's absolutely demonstrated the fact that the issues that we're facing today, it is incredibly complex. And I've said this a number of times before, but it needs to see action, and it needs to see continued dialogue well after October 19th. We have to understand how to step away from this campaign rhetoric, from the promises that we hear that are either too grand or simply miss the mark completely, because we can't afford to nickel and dime any longer. It's time to leave our current government, as well as their antiquated, their out-of-touch values, and begin to start to move forward. You, again, my fellow peers, my fellow students, you're certainly the future, but we have to remember that we're also the present. I don't think that's said often enough. We have to remember that the great things that we are capable of doing can be done today. In youth, I've been told this a number of times, but we are a prized demographic, and every politician is going to want you. But what's most frightening to a politician is an informed vote. So do that on October 19th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Farheen?
Okay. So after 10 years of the Harper Conservatives, we've seen the damage that's been done, and we need to bring Canada back on track. We've heard today what the NDP is offering, and the fact that we have a fully costed out plan, that we have what it takes to be the next government of Canada. We're a government in waiting. We have the passion, the commitment, and the dedicated team behind us that can actually create better jobs, grow the economy, and make life more affordable by introducing the important but fiscally sound social programs, as I've talked about, childcare, housing, a youth strategy, and all the things that we need to be able to increase, for example, $15 hour minimum wage federally. Those are all things that are very important to us, and as you know, this is our opportunity on October the 19th to really and truly challenge the current government and the status quo. Your voice, your vote is your voice. That's what I'm telling people. And it's time that people stop playing politics with our rights and our freedoms, and it's time for us to actually take a position. So on October the 19th, I invite you to join me and millions of Canadians as we work together to form the next government of Canada and to bring us back on track so that we can build the Canada of our dreams, one that's inclusive and that one that truly reflects the diversity of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you. And that wraps up this debate. Thank you, Lynn, Farheen, and Omar, for joining us. Thank you for attending as well. Our debate will next take over with the Oakville riding, and we will hear from those candidates. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Sheridan College's All Candidates Debate. Students Vote 2015.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arvinar Jonas. I'm also in my final year of broadcast journalism program. Our next debate is with the candidates from the Oakville riding. Joining us is Shay Marvel from the New Democratic Party and David Dole from the Green Party. The Liberal candidate John Oliver and the incumbent candidate Conservative Terrence Young were also invited but unable to attend. The format for this debate is as follows. Please make an opening statement, after which we will ask you two questions submitted by students. We would like to limit each answer to 1 minute 30, after which you will have an opportunity for a rebuttal. After the second question, we will open it up to the audience for their questions. If you go over 1 minute 30 in your responses, you will hear this bell to indicate your time is up. We would like to begin with an opening statement from both of you. David Dole of the Green Party, can we please begin with you?
Yes. Hi, I'm David Dole. I represent the Green Party for Oakville. First, I'd like to thank Sheridan College and its students for hosting this debate. I actually graduated from Sheridan in 2006 with a diploma in e-commerce. I was one of those kids who went to college right out of high school, not really knowing what I wanted to do. It wasn't really until after I graduated that I discovered my love for video production and telling stories through video, which is what I do now. So it's almost odd that I found myself joining the Green Party as a candidate. I grew up on Jon Stewart and The Daily Show, which really opened my eyes to how much better we have it here compared to the US. But around the time the Conservatives won a majority government here is when I noticed things started to shift. The culture of fear, rhetoric, and division began to rear its head, and that's when I began paying more attention to what was happening around the country. I decided to run as a Green Party candidate because I felt there was a very strong progressive movement that needs an equally strong voice. For me, Green Party leader Elizabeth May is that voice. And the shift back to a positive and inclusive society is now happening. The Green Party's platform is based on science, on helping those most in need, on investing in the future in this country. Every vote for the Green Party sends a strong message to all the other parties about what's important. We are the moral compass in this race. If you're only voting to vote against someone, you've already made up your mind. But if you want to vote for something, the Green Party is the clear choice with a platform that pushes the entire country forward in a truly progressive, forward-thinking direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Shay Marvel of the NDP Party, your statement, please.
Thank you, and good evening. I didn't hear anybody. Good evening. It's an honor to be at Sheridan. I have tremendous respect for this organization, and my second oldest son attends this amazing organization also. This is a groundbreaking and transformative election. It's not just time for change, it's time to move towards the Canada we really all know and love. A Canada that is abundant, a Canada that is tolerant and excellent, a Canada that is inclusive, and a Canada that stands up for the democracy of all human beings. And Tom Mulcair has been standing up for Canadians for 35 years, and I have been standing up for Canadians and for my community and for my neighbors and for students and working with those who are marginalized for 25 years. So tonight I'm honored to speak to you about those things.
Thank you very much, Shay. Now on to our questions. A similar first question was also posed in the last debate. So, tuition rates keep going up. Students are concerned that post-secondary education is simply becoming out of reach. If elected, what would each of you do to make post-secondary more affordable? And can you explain how you would do it? Shay Marvel, can we please start with you?
Thank you. It's a brilliant question because the reality is that many people are not going to university or college because they cannot afford it. And if they do go, they are working 2 or 3 jobs to try to help themselves survive, and then still graduating with up to $28,000 in debt. I went to university, I went to Glendon College, part of York University, and I put myself through school at the same time by working at the Ontario Science Centre. And what we're trying to do with the NDP is, number one, we are going to remove the interest rate because we should not be charging young people and making money off of young people trying to create an education. We're also increasing the minimum wage to $15, and we are creating 40,000 apprentice jobs. But more than that, our philosophy and our value is that young people should not be left out of this economy. They are the economy.
Thank you very much, Shay. David Dole, what is your response?
I think first we need to look at what works in other countries. So countries like Germany, like Norway, that have free education. So by looking at outside of ourselves, we can actually learn a lot. So we want to actually eliminate student loan debt over $10,000 immediately, and then immediately cut tuition fees for students and their families that don't have adequate financial means. And then to go further than that, we actually want to phase out tuition fees altogether by 2020 by working with the provinces and the institutions to actually be able to make it happen. We feel 2020 is a goal that's achievable. And on top of that, we actually also want to help students and their families through the Guaranteed Livable Income, which allows them, which ensures no person's income falls below what's necessary for their health, their life, and their dignity.
Thank you very much. Shay, you have an opportunity to respond to David.
Well, it's a little bit difficult in this situation because I don't know if you've noticed that two of our colleagues are missing, and that is revealing in itself. And why I mention that is that this feels more like a conversation, and it should be more of a conversation than a debate. The reality is that the two people that are missing speak volumes about what they value and who they value, and whether or not they think this is a place that will make a significant change in the election. And I need to mention something to you. 9.3 million people in the last election did not vote, and 58% of them were young people under the age of 30. And the belief is that young people don't matter because they don't show up. And the way you change what's going to happen in education is by showing up to vote. That's one way.
Thank you very much. David, do you have a rebuttal?
Only that I agree completely with everything Shay just said. It is kind of funny to me that two other candidates aren't here. This is my second debate of all time. Obviously, it would be a very nerve-wracking experience, but the fact that two, I would say, probably more experienced people who are much older than me aren't here is kind of eye-opening. And I think we just need to get some props for both of us showing up here.
I'd agree so. I would agree.
But can I comment on that? Why is it acceptable for candidates who are running to go to the highest office in Canada not to show up to talk to constituents? Like, there is something so profoundly wrong with this. I can't even begin to understand how we accept it. It's just wrong, and it's not democratic, and it just shouldn't be allowed. You should, if you're running, it means that you're willing to stand up and, take the beating or take the support, or, whatever comes, you have to face it. Be kind. Did I mention that? Be kind.
Thank you very much for that. This is our second question. Oakville's largest employer is Ford. We are also home to the headquarters of Tim Hortons, and here at Sheridan, we have Skills Training Center. Does the structure of universities and colleges have to change in a new economy where skills training is in demand? So, David, can we start with you, please?
I don't know if the structure really has to change. I think that the real issue here is that not enough people can actually afford education. So by eliminating tuition fees and eliminating fees for skills training, that allows more people to come into the workforce, more skilled labor to come into the workforce, and not just fill jobs, but also create jobs for others. So we actually want to, while we're raising the large corporate tax rate to 19%, we actually want to lower the small business tax rate to 9%. So I believe that the future in jobs is really a lot of self-employment, and being able to start your own business can help employ others around.
Thank you very much. Do you have a rebuttal, Shay?
Well, we are also lowering the tax rate for small businesses, but this is a really important piece, because it's not just about going to school and learning new skills. It's about the skills you have before you go to school. We have to encourage young people to start to see themselves as entrepreneurs, not just as workers. You can be entrepreneurial within a workplace as well, but it's about having new ideas and being able to apply them, and apply work ethic with skills plus knowledge plus ideas plus innovation. And you have to feel, the thing I'm worried about with a lot of young people, if we can really get into it, is that I think a lot of people are waiting. They're waiting for somebody to tell them that they have value and what they should do. And I think you have to discover your own purpose inside, and then you have to say to the educational system, what do you have for me so that I can go out there and be the person that I need to be in this world? And that can be done through a job, it can be done through entrepreneurship, and we're developing apprenticeship programs because we believe in young people. The other thing is that the economy and the green economy, or the clean energy economy, are not separate. So you mentioned Tim Hortons and Ford, but there are other things that we can be doing. There are areas of Oakville that can become manufacturing spaces. And young people that are in this room right now, you could be the innovators. You could be the next, you could be the next Einstein. You could be the next person, the Eli Musk. You have to start to invest in yourself.
Thank you very much. David, you have anything else to say for that?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Let's go.
Let's go. Thank you. We'd now like to turn to the audience for your questions. Please direct your questions to a specific candidate. This portion of our debate is open. Candidates, you are invited to jump in and debate the questions being asked. I would ask that you don't speak over each other so the responses can be clearly heard. So we would like to, go ahead, anybody asking questions?
Hi, my question is for Mr. Dole. Is it important to your party to have a public broadcaster federally funded in Canada?
Yes, it's actually incredibly important. So we want to reverse the Harper cuts to the CBC, invest $285 million in the first year, and then $315 million in each subsequent year. I actually used to work in broadcast, so I used to work for CTV. I knew how hard it was to actually find a job, and I was super lucky coming out of college to be able to get that job at CTV. But we do need to fund our public broadcaster, and we also need to restructure it at the board level to ensure that there's no political influence at CBC.
Thank you. Do you have anything to?
We absolutely agree. We would reverse the $1.15 million that's been cut out of CBC. And there's the recognition that CBC is the storyteller of Canada. It's an educator, it's a connector, it keeps us together as a holistic community. We have to absolutely support our broadcaster.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Perfect.
My question is for NDP Representative Shea. Do you see Canada as a peacekeeping nation, or do you agree with Canada's current active military role?
I absolutely see Canada as a peacemaker, and I see Canada as a leader and a visionary in peacemaking, and we've lost that role in a very profound way over the last 10 years. We've become more interested in bravado and war than we have in trying to look at how we can be partners with communities on the ground and help with health. I just want to tell you a quick story about Tom Mulcair, though. I didn't know Tom very well 3 years ago, and then I had the opportunity to talk with him at a rally, and one of the first things I asked him was, how he felt about what was happening in Syria, and was he committed to going to war? And what he said to me was, I think first we have to be committed to peace before we know anything about war. And I just think that's a really important piece to understand about who Tom Mulcair is.
I completely agree with Shea. I think our military should be used for peacekeeping and disaster relief. I actually feel that there's very little reason for war nowadays. We've seen what the 2003 invasion of Iraq by the US did. It destabilized Iraq and created ISIS, essentially. So we need to really watch out how we use our military, and I believe Canada should get back to being a peacekeeping nation like it always has been before the Conservative government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we do have other questions that have been submitted by students. The first question is if there is only one thing students should take away from this debate, what should that be? Shay, can I start with you, please?
Sure, thank you. It's an amazing question, because the one thing you need to do is get involved and vote. And of course, I would like you to vote for Shay Marvell of the NDP in Oakville. But more importantly, I would just like you to get involved and look at all of the candidates in your community and look at how you can contribute and start to participate. Because this issue that 9.3 million people did not vote, this issue is impacting all of us. The thing about that number is that 9.3 million is more than all of the people that voted for the Harper government. So we actually have a government that we didn't even really elect. 38% of the population elected it. So your voice is really essential. The other piece is that there is a stereotype that young people are apathetic, that they don't care about politics. And the reality is a lot of people don't care because politics hasn't cared about them for a long time. So that this vote is really essential. You have to be involved. I cannot, I just want to plead with all of you. Tell a friend and vote forward.
Thank you very much. David, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, voting is really important in this election because we need electoral reform. So if there's one thing you take away from this, remember what proportional representation is. It reflects the popular vote of the country and allows a minority government to actually work together to create positive change. So say the Green Party gets 30% of the vote, the popular vote overall in Canada, we would have 30% of the say when it comes to making laws. And I think that's super important that we reform our electoral process and bring in proportional representation.
Thank you. So we actually have a second question. It's how would you deal with the issue of unpaid internships? David, let's start with you this time.
We're banning them. So outright, I was in an unpaid internship out of college. I thought I might learn something at this job. I'm not going to say where it was. But I ended up getting coffee, getting lunch, cleaning desks, and learning nothing and making no money. And it was ridiculous. So definitely, absolutely ban unpaid internships or slave labor, whatever you want to call it.
Good to hear.
We do not support unpaid internships, and we support apprenticeships that are actually being paid, and we want to create 40,000 new apprenticeship programs. Beyond that, I've spent 20 years working with young people and trying to create programs that are innovative. And what I would say is, respect who you are, respect your value and the value you bring to the workplace. Be willing to volunteer, right? You can volunteer, and an internship is something different. You can do it for a short period of time, maybe if you find that valuable, but you cannot accept being taken advantage of. You're a contributor to this economy.
Awesome. So as you can see, we have another question from the audience, so let's hear it.
So this is for David Doel. This is a question I asked in the previous debate. With the devastating events happening in Syria and the flood of refugees in Europe, how does your party intend to aid the international refugees?
So we've committed to bringing in 40,000 refugees, and also having temporary citizenship for those refugees coming over, so that we could actually bring them over quicker and not have to wait a long process time to be able to get them here.
Thank you.
Perfect. Do you have anything to add to that?
We have asked for immediately to have 10,000 refugees come to Canada. And, this speaks to also a greater issue of democracy and what's happening to Canada in terms of our tolerance and our role as humanitarians. Canada used to be a country that was known as a peaceful country, a country that was a leader in looking after those who are marginalized and needed support, like what we did with the Vietnamese Boat people. And so we know that we have a record of doing that and that we can do that again for the Syrians without fear. And this also relates to Bill C-51. This is why this bill, it is so destructive to our Canadian culture and to us as a cohesive society. We cannot even talk about bringing people into our country when we have a government that is actually creating silos of division and looking at how we should be distrustful of one another. So absolutely, we support the resettlement of Syrians here in Canada. Thank you for the question.
No problem.
Do you want to rebuttal that, David?
No, that was good.
We're good? Thank you. All right, go ahead. Got eager ones.
Question for you. My question is for NEP. What is your standpoint on the legalization of marijuana?
Oh, that's a good one. So we believe that that marijuana should not be illegal and people should not be prosecuted for having small amounts of marijuana. But I think there's also a larger issue about all of the people who have been incarcerated for marijuana use and also for carrying small amounts of marijuana. And so we're going to have to repeal that law, and we're going to have to look at all the people who have been prosecuted for it.
David?
So we need to take here's a little history lesson about why marijuana is illegal in the first place. In the 1930s, the cotton industry was afraid of the hemp industry encroaching on its sales. So they fear-mongered, because of their powerful lobbies, they fear-mongered hemp, which in turn also banned marijuana. So that's why marijuana is even illegal to begin with. The science has shown the positive effects marijuana can have. It should absolutely be legal. And also when you legalize it, it takes the power away from criminal organizations. It generates tax revenue for the country, and it keeps the drug pure, free of any toxins that you often find in street drugs. So it absolutely makes no sense for it to be illegal still.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I also would like to pose the same question that I asked the last candidates. I know you both discuss it, so Shay, I'll direct it to you to start. What is your stance, and how would you handle the current situation regarding the niqab being worn at citizenship ceremonies?
The question is the niqab being worn
at citizenship ceremonies and the controversy surrounding that. So how would your party handle that situation?
So the controversy is not a controversy. It is the stance of our current government that is using the niqab as a way to divide people. So we should just be clear about that. That's not the feeling of most Canadians. But also our stance is that your face should be shown at some point when you are making the oath, and because the ceremony is a long time, you have the right, if you choose as a woman, to put the niqab back on. Less than 50 women in Canada wear the niqab and have even brought this forward as an issue, and I think the number is actually 2 women have actually brought this forward. And I think that one of the questions that we don't ask is, have we ever asked women who wear the niqab how they really feel? We have a lot of people talking about it, but we have very few people who are wearing the niqab talking about their experience as women. And the one thing I would add to this also is, the other day I was at a restaurant and I was talking to a young woman who was wearing very, very little clothes. And I thought, she has the right to wear the clothes she wants, and yet we want to restrict the right of someone else to wear, their head scarf. I think we have to think about where we're going as a country when we start doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
David, what's your stance on this issue?
I agree completely. So I think a lot of people don't realize they actually have to show their face in private beforehand. There's absolutely no reason they need to show it in public. It's up to them. It's a civil liberties issue, so it's absolutely up to the person.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm a little confused, and I would like to try and understand, from your point of view, the business of wearing a hijab. Is that pronounced right?
A niqab or a hijab. There's a difference.
Whatever your previous candidate was wearing.
A hijab.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, it boggles my mind how that could be considered inappropriate because you can see your face. Mm-hmm. My understanding is that whole issue is not about that item. It was about a burqa, which hid virtually the entire face. Mm. And what is the difference in the issue? Is the real issue wearing a burqa that hides your face or wearing a scarf over your head? I don't understand why one is being discussed instead of the other in the debate, and it leads to the far more important question is, where would you draw the line between respecting a person's cultural/religious values or customs and the best interest of the cultural Canadian rules and regulations? I'd very much like to hear an answer to that if you could manage that.
Okay, well, what exactly is the question? The difference, what is the difference, and what is the line between the wearing the hijab and the niqab?
My understanding is that the issue there's a real concern about is people wanting to wear an item that hides their identity.
Yes. I think it's an assumption that people are wearing an item that is hiding their identity.
I'm sorry, it's not about, that was an alleged concern.
Yes, yes.
My real concern is why is the debate and a whole issue about wearing what amounts to nothing more than a headscarf, religiously or culturally important to that person? There's no reason why it should even be discussed.
Right.
A burqa that covers the face is what I understand to be the real issue. Why are people talking about one and not the real issue? The second part of that question is, where would your party draw the line between respecting a new Canadian's cultural and or religious customs versus Canadian customs and regulations?
I think the line is drawn at our laws. So if, just figuratively, if it's in your religion to sacrifice people, then obviously we'd be against that because we're against murder. So obviously it doesn't. There are lines there, but the line is drawn at the law. So there is no real need to have to show your face in a public ceremony because you show your face in private to the officer so they can identify you. So that's where the line is drawn. It's up to a person what they want to do with their own body in public. So I think the line is drawn at yourself.
Well, the reality is that we have a constitution and we have a charter of rights and we protect individual rights. And there are a lot of assumptions being made publicly in the media about why somebody is wearing a hijab or a niqab, and we're not asking the women who are wearing them, and it is their choice to do so. And we stand for protecting individual rights, not at the expense of the whole society, but we stand for protecting the rights of women. And if someone makes a decision that they want to be covered, and that is how they show respect for their culture and their religion and for themselves, then I think we have to have respect for that. I think what this issue is, it's a small issue that's been really blown up into a much larger issue because there is this thread, and that it's not such a thread anymore, this minefield of discrimination and racism. And we have to be able to call it like it is. You know, I grew up in Toronto. I came here when I was 4. My family's from Guyana. I came here from England, and I'm 44 now. And so I've been here for 40 years, and I still have people asking me where I'm from. And I grew up with girls who were Muslim and from different Muslim communities, and some of them never wore a headscarf all through our growing up, and then made a choice to do so when they were 21. And you know, that's one of the tremendously amazing things about this country, is that you have a choice to be who you really want to be, and you can also change your mind. So I think that this is one of the examples of how profoundly dangerous the current government is. You know, it's like when you throw out the word or this term, old stock Canadian. Well, you know, I always say we are old stock human beings, all of us. Many of us did not choose where we wanted to live or where we end up, you know. And so, you know, we all have a right as human beings to live in security, to have a home, to have food, to have a job. And those are all the things that the NDP believes in. And, you know, one of the things that we're dealing with right here in Oakville is that there's a trend around strategic voting, and people always sort of come back to, well, we have two categories, we have two options, the Liberals and the Conservatives. And, you know, this is a time, this is the time when you have a choice, you have other options. And we live in a democratic society, and we can use our right as individuals in a democratic society to stand up for this country, to stand up for our rights as individuals, and to stand up for the rights of others who are being oppressed.
Am I correct in my understanding from both of you that there really, truly is no concern about somebody wanting to wear a burqa because it's being checked beforehand?
Yes.
Their
Yes.
identities
Yes.
are being confirmed beforehand.
Yes, your
so
identity.
it's really not an issue at
This,
all.
yeah, we've spent way too much time on this already.
Non-issue.
Wow.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
What a great question to end the open floor part. So we would like to end this debate with a brief closing statement from each of you. So can we get Shay started?
I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here at Sheridan, and I thank you, and I thank the team behind putting this together, and I ask you to keep doing it. But I'm so grateful that we have an election, because if we didn't have an election, we wouldn't be talking about some of the things that unite us as a country. And those things are the value for democracy, for justice, for tolerance, that we are at a time when we need to stand up for a strong economy, and that we can do this in Canada. This is not a time to be afraid. This is a time to look at the greatness and the resources that are in this country, and to start investing in clean energy and green technology, start investing in manufacturing, start investing in the youth. And I want to tell you, those of you who are young, who are struggling and trying to figure out what you're going to do, and you're juggling 2 or 3 jobs, and you're worried about where you're going to end up after school, and you don't have a direct road, I want you to know you can create the road, and that the NDP is here, and I am here in this community, and I want to help you, I want to show you, and I want to connect you. There are so many examples that you never hear of people who are succeeding, creating green factories, creating new types of technology that are succeeding in this society, and you need to hear those stories so that you have a positive view of what you're going to create and become in this Canada. And this Canada is about you. Thank you. My name is Shay Marville, and I'm running for the federal NDP in Oakville. And please, please, think of me when you vote and mark my name down.
Thank you. David, your closing statement, please.
Yes. So once again, I'd like to thank Sheridan College for hosting and everyone here for attending. I think it's incredibly important that young people vote, especially now more than ever, as this election will decide if we will reform our electoral process and bring in proportional representation as we should. I've heard some say that a vote for the Green Party is a wasted vote. I disagree. A vote for the Green Party is a vote for truly progressive values that push this country forward. Every vote for the Green Party helps us for the following election. You don't build the winner overnight. You build it with hard work over time. Our policies are based on a strong moral compass. Whether it's tending to the poor, the young, seniors, minorities, families struggling to get by, or the environment. Because in the end, we're only as strong as our weakest link, and the Green Party needs your vote to help keep our country as strong as it can possibly be. Thank you.
And that wraps up this debate. Shay Marville from the NDP and David Dole from the Green Party, thank you very, very much for attending. Our next debate will be with the candidates from Brampton riding. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Sheridan College's All Candidates Debate. Students Vote 2015.
Good evening, and welcome back to Students Vote 2015. My name is Quinton Bignell, and I will be your moderator for this next section. We reached out to federal candidates from both ridings of Brampton South and Brampton West. Amarjit Sankha, the NDP candidate from Brampton South, and Karthika Gobinath, the Green Party candidate from Brampton West, has agreed to join us. We also reached out to the Liberal and Conservative candidates, but unfortunately they were unable to join us. We welcome both of you.
Thank you.
The format for this debate is as follows. Please make an opening statement, after which we will ask you 2 questions submitted by students. We would like to limit each answer to 1 minute and 30 seconds, after which you will have an opportunity for a rebuttal. After the second question, we will open it up to the audience for their questions. If you go over 1 minute and 30 seconds in your responses, you will hear this bell to indicate your time is up. We would like to begin with your opening statements. Amarjit, if you would like to start us off tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me this evening. My name is Amarjit Sankha. I'm your candidate for NDP from Brampton South. I came to Canada when I was 17 years of age with my parents. I have worked all my life since I was here, went to school while working in the evening, then going to school in the evening and working at night. It is not an easy life, and we all had to work hard because we have to earn and live and study all at once. I'm glad to be here, but not so pleased to see my opponents. None of them is here. But as students have put this together, being in broadcasting business as an announcer, as anchor for last 20 years in the radio and TV, and advisor to Punjab Star newspaper, I know how important it is for our students who are learning journalism, how important for them to be engaged in the politics at this level. And this is the reason I came here, to give them more experience, more exposure. I'm sure you had been working really hard to put your questions together, and it takes very long time to prepare yourself to question someone. I have been doing that in the past, and I'm here so that our youths could learn and could build confidence. So when they go out for workforce, they know what they're doing. And this is a real experience you are going to gain. And this is the reason that I'm here right in front of you as your candidate from Brampton South. One of your campus, Davis campus, is located in Brampton South. And I'm surprised by all other candidates declining to coming here to represent the area where students are studying. Could be the reason they might think youths are not very well engaged in the political system. So if we start voting, I'm sure politicians will start listening. And we have to vote this time. So they will make sure that they will be coming here before you, answer your questions, address your concerns, right here in front of you. As NDP candidate, I can only assure you that NDP party has a platform which will work for youths, 40,000 jobs for youths. And youths, at this time point, 27.7% youths are unemployed or underemployed. This is the first time in history when youths are making less than their parents. And this has to be changed, and youths are finding no job in their field, or finding very low paid jobs or part-time jobs, and with the low wages. And thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Karthika?
Good evening. My name is Karthika Gobinath. I'm your Green Party candidate for Brampton West. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight, taking time out of your busy schedule to come out and watch us and listen to us. And second of all, I want to thank Sheridan College and Professors Sherry and Catherine for arranging this wonderful event tonight. I appreciate that you could facilitate such a wonderful event in such a short time. Canada stands behind many other countries when it comes to national strategies and goals on very pressing issues. According to the Economic Cooperation and Development, also known as OECD, we stand behind many other countries in national goals. For example, education, employment, transportation, and healthcare. So there needs to be a change, and we need to come up with concrete policies to tackle these issues. The Green Party of Canada is not a one-party policy, and we believe in a Canada that works together with your help, we can build a Canada together. I know many of you guys are in Oakville right now, but the Region of Peel's population is the second largest in Ontario. It's actually 1.38 million. So our population is actually growing, so our needs are also growing. So we have to come up with national strategies to tackle these issues.
Thank you so much. We'll move to our first question. In Peel Region, youth unemployment is at a high of 19%. How do you intend to combat this and get the youth of Brampton working again? Karthika, we can start with you.
Well, the youth in Brampton, if you look at demographics, the highest population rate is ages 14 to 24. And the unemployment rate for youth right now is 17% in Brampton, actually in the Region of Peel for youths. If you look at it, if you add a race component to that, Black students are at a higher disadvantage right now because their unemployment rate is actually 30%, so which is quite higher. So a lot of vulnerable people in our society also are affected by this issue.
Amarjeet, your response?
Well, not only in Peel or Brampton, I believe that youth employment rate is double than the national average, which is unacceptable, which is nearly 16 to 17% throughout the country. We have a plan to give them incentives if someone hire youths, give them some tax incentives, or there'll be a internship, paid internship, and put youth to work so that they get into the workforce. This is the way we can engage them and get them to work, and we will make sure that the youths are getting job as soon they get out of the colleges or universities. Youths are under a great debt load they have on them coming through colleges or universities, paying high tuition fees. That's what make youths more vulnerable to they don't find a job because jobs aren't there. If they are there, they are low paid, and there's not much they can make out of it. And we need to give those companies incentives who are hiring youths and make sure that the youths are looked after.
Thank you. Karthika, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, I would like to add to that. It's not just a matter of unemployment, it's underemployment. I find that a lot of youths are currently facing this situation where we have a high amount of youth graduating and they are highly educated, but the jobs that are out there are quite low in terms of meeting up with their skills. So we need to make sure that, for example, in regards to internships itself, the Green Party proposes to ban internships because a lot of companies and organizations are looking for paid experience. I experienced that when I was applying for jobs as a recent graduate. They asked for paid experience, and I did not have that. I had internship opportunities, and I was accepted to a lot of jobs because of the fact that I didn't have the experience. So we need to make sure that these skills are matched up with the education level, this highly educated population as well.
Thank you. Amarjeet, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I have said earlier that the youths are not finding jobs because the high-paying jobs, manufacturing jobs are going away from Canada, and jobs we have left with low-paid jobs. The youths, if they not even the youths, if people Canadian are working, they are being told by their employers they have to reduce their pay. They cannot afford paying them so much, including all those big corporates who are profiting billions, but they're asking their employees to reduce their rate. Hiring youths on very low wages and part-time jobs, temporary jobs. There are not very many full-time or permanent jobs in the market. So we have to work on youths and give them incentives so they can find a job and get engaged with the work.
Thank you. Now on to our second question. There has been a recurring theme of tax breaks throughout the election. Do you support a tax break for students? If so, how would you achieve this? And how much would you like that to be in terms of the tax break for students? Amarjeet, we could start with you.
You mean tax break for?
Yeah, there's been a recurring theme of tax breaks throughout the election. In terms of students, do you support a tax break, and how much would you like to apply?
New Democrats announced plan to end interest on student loans, which was announced today. Is that what your question is, I believe? If elected, New Democrats will phase out interest on federal student loans over the next 7 years. The party announced today, and of course, students are, if this their plan is placed, students will save $4,000 each when it comes to repaying loans. Students are falling behind paying their loans, their payments. They don't have the money to pay it. Additionally, NDP will invest $250 million over 4 years to create around 74,000 new grants for students. The emphasis of the NDP will be helping students who need it the most. We have to look at the student needs, and it is in past 20 years, tuition fee has grown double what it was 20 years ago in 2 decades. No wonder liberals and conservatives aren't here, because those both are responsible for it. Debt load on students is approximately upward 28,000 each. And if we calculated total today, it reached to $23 billion on students, which is very difficult, not finding a job once getting out of colleges or universities. So what NDP government is prepared to do, give them a tax-free or interest-free loans.
Thank you. Karthika?
Education should be the equalizer in society, and education means opportunity for everyone. The Green Party of Canada recognizes this, and we are proposing a national strategy to tackle this issue in regards to student debt. We're abolishing student debts by 2020, so we're going to have a phase-out program by 2020. As a starter, anyone who has a debt over $10,000, we're going to have a debt forgiveness program in place. Another thing is that we're going to have grants, federal grants, transferred to universities and colleges and skilled trades to make sure that there is enough funding before we can phase out this program. In regards to tuition fees itself, it has gone up not by a small percentage, it has gone up by a big percentage. If you look at the statistics, from 1990 to 2013, it has gone up by 334%. And it's not going to change, it's going to get worse after this stage. So any money being thrown at this problem is not going to solve it unless we come up with concrete solutions and national policies. The Green Party of Canada is committed to this, and we're coming up with a national education policy in place so that it's not just our generation, it's the generations to come after us that are not suffering with student debt, so that we can help students to focus on more important things such as finding employment and perhaps buying a car and buying a house and getting into the real workforce.
Thank you. Would you like to respond to that?
Well, workforce is changing very quickly, and we need a lot of trainings and skills to compete in the world and where we are living now. Jobs are changing, and the way of work is changing. So we have to have educated who have done their studies in wherever they were. So to help grow our economy, because Canada is exporting technical or our soft programs, softwares, and those all could be met if we have students who are studying in colleges or universities, so that we can create a better technology which we can export, which we had been exporting. And this is where government needs to come in and help those who are going to create jobs, who are going to create export for our country, to bring foreign money into the country. And this is how we've been surviving, and we have to be ahead of others to survive in this changing economy and changing world.
Thank you. We actually have time for a third question to get in here. The youth vote has been significantly decreasing year by year. What is your approach to increase voter participation among youth? Karthika, we could start with you.
Yes. If you look at our electoral system itself, no matter whether we increase youth support participation in the electoral system, it's not going to change because our electoral system is quite outdated. It's in favor in regards to the first past the post system, so we need to make sure that we bring in the whole proportional representation system in place. Another thing is, I myself am a recent postgraduate student. I just graduated with a master's in public policy administration and law, and I work in the public sector. I work in the Ministry of Attorney General in the court system. So to find that job, it was very difficult to even get employment after I graduated, because I graduated at the wrong time. It was during the recession time with my undergrad, and right now I just got my postgrad, still at the wrong time again. So I guess everyone is going to encounter the similar situations right now. So we need to increase youth participation by making sure that at the same time we're bringing out policies that are benefiting general society. We have to make sure that policies are there to protect our youth as well. So I think this is the way to encourage youth participation.
Thank you. Armajit?
Well, voters are only important for voting day so far, but we have to change it. Proportional representation we need to bring in the system. It has been brought up by 2 countries in the world, Germany and New Zealand, and their youth rate have grown 13% more than they were used to vote for political parties, because this is the way you will be listened and heard every day when they make decisions in House of Commons. Now, if you look at the last elections, about 50% of our Canadians vote, and then out of which 39% voted Conservatives. They elected 54% of member parliaments and 100% power. Other 61% didn't want the Conservative, they want someone else other than the Conservatives, but they were not heard. So we have to change this. We have to bring a proportional representation. So every vote counts, and they're being heard throughout 4 years or whatever mandate time in the House of Commons. We have to bring them up and give them the opportunity so they'll remain contacted with the parties and keep listening and watching the news. So this will encourage them to bring themselves up on the voting day and vote for the party they choose for.
Thank you. Would you like to respond to that, Karthika? Okay. Thank you. Now over to our audience. Please direct your question to a specific candidate. This portion of our debate is open. Candidates, you are invited to jump in the debate and debate the question being asked. I would ask that you don't speak over each other so your responses can be clearly heard.
Hello. This question is for both of the candidates. There has been a lot of discussion about vanishing data in Canada as a result of killing the Law Enforcement Census. What is your position on this? NDP, if you'd like to start.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Of course. There's been a lot of discussion about vanishing data in Canada as a result of killing the long-form census. What is your position on this?
Well, long-form census, we need to bring that up again. It's I support. It has, to make decisions, we have to know who is living in the region. Right. And if they're single parents or how many kids, what is their income and what is their race. This is on that base we can make a decision, so we will be prepared for a future, so that what precautions we need to take and how much aid do they need, or what kind of communities are there. Every community has a little bit different needs than the others. I have seen communities have different needs for healthcare even, and the way they live their lives, or the food, or what kind of incomes they are having to raise a family in the region. So I believe to bring a long-form census would work better to plan for the communities we are living in.
Thank you.
Being here with us tonight. As my fellow peer asked in the earlier debate, I'm going to direct this towards NDP. What is your stand on the legalization of marijuana?
Legalizing marijuana, it's been debating for a very long time, but only politicians are talking, as I've been listening to. but we need to work on it. We need to get expert advice, and our party stands for decriminalizing it, but through a very fine details and going through all the aspects, we have to look at it. And at the point, I think another party has a plan that decriminalizing, if they have a small amount of marijuana, which is should be decriminalized, they shouldn't be charged for it. But we really have to work on it. It is in the process, and we will look into it and see all the aspects before we make any commitment or any commitment at this point of time.
The Green Party's take on marijuana is we want to decriminalize marijuana as well. We can't be decisive. We need to be decisive in regards to making choices right now and not reactive after the 3 to 4 year term. We have to look at long-term solutions. If you look at the amount of money that has been poured in to tackle this war on drugs, it's just money gone to waste. More money has been put into law enforcement rather than looking at the cure and rehabilitation aspects of marijuana usage, which could have gone to better use. If you look at it within the criminal justice perspective, we want to remove the marijuana from the criminal Controlled Drugs and Substance Act completely. A lot of youths come into the criminal justice system with under just 30 grams of marijuana. So these things can be treated outside of the court system. We don't need to burden the criminal justice system by bringing these youths into the system. And if you look at the criminal, if you get a criminal record itself, there are long implications and issues when you are graduating and have a criminal record to get that job. People are, it's frowned upon in regards to getting that employment. So we want to decriminalize marijuana and pretty much tax marijuana the way how we're taxing alcohol and tobacco. And we want to make sure that we are going to regulate it and we're going to have some rules in place so we're not going to be selling marijuana right by a school or something. So we are going to make sure that we have certain prohibitions and requirements surrounding this this law. And at the same time, we want to put money into rehabilitation and research to improve marijuana usage altogether.
Perfect, thank you.
Hi there. I got, for both of you, actually. My wife was born in the United States, and she's lived here for 10 years now, and she is now also a Canadian citizen, a dual citizen. Mm-hmm. And 4 years ago, we had a young daughter, mm-hmm. and so she is a dual citizen as well, but she was born in Toronto at Mount Sinai. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering how you feel with the latest legislation that's been passed with C-24. Mm-hmm. What are your feelings on that? And I can't... I feel that there's a bit of a difference in citizenship here, two-tier citizenship. How do you feel on that?
Well, the Green Party's take on this is to repeal this bill. This bill, as well as Bill C-51, this is C-24 actually, but C-51 and C-24 was not given careful thought. It was rushed through Parliament without getting any opinions from the public. It does more harm than good. If you look at it from the Green Party's perspective, how we see it is once you're Canadian, you're always a Canadian. I came here as a refugee, actually. I can relate to the Syrian refugee crisis right now because I grew up in, I actually was born in Sri Lanka and I came here when I was 3 years old. During the civil war in Sri Lanka, we stayed in bunkers and pretty much had to flee Sri Lanka to come here in hope for a better future and education. And the important part was getting that citizenship. I felt like I'm a real Canadian, and I feel that all the people who get citizenship should not be stripped of that right, and we are going to repeal this once we form government.
Well, I agree with her that a two-tier citizenship is being seen by most of the Canadians, and they're all concerned about it. How can a Canadian be different than the other Canadian? Canadian means Canadian, so by doing that, some Canadians are being less important than the others than what we might be seeing in coming years. People asking what kind of citizen are you? Are you second class or first class? Canadian has to be Canadian, and there's no under circumstances their citizenship could be revoked or stripped. And I believe that I stand for the one Canadian, and all Canadian are same.
I have a question for both candidates, but we could start with Amarjeet. My question is, for most people that don't know, Brampton is actually the 9th largest city in the country in terms of population. However, if you were to go anywhere else in Canada, most people will not be able to locate Brampton. Now, I, as a Bramptonian, take a lot of pride in this. So I just wanted to know, what is the reason that other Canadians don't know much about Brampton, and what can be done?
I believe lack of business in Brampton. Lack of investments in Brampton. Brampton is being a bedroom community, sleep community. We see in the morning people are going to work somewhere else, then they're coming at evening, they're coming back to their houses, to their bedrooms, sleep there and leave next morning. We need to change that. We have to bring investments into the city so people could talk about it. There should be a reason. There should be businesses where they'll be working. People normally work about their workplaces. When I go home, I just sleep, and next morning I get up and walk out of Brampton and go to there. I go to work. Brampton needs universities. Brampton need where we can call earning places in the city of Brampton. These are the reasons it is left behind, and we need a transit system. We can move in and out of Brampton fairly quickly, no gridlocks, so the business would come to the Brampton.
My response to that question is innovation, simply. We're lacking in innovation. If you look at the World Economic Forum, in 2009 we were ranked 12 behind other economically developed countries. Right now we are 22nd. So if you look at how we are standing as a nation, we are behind in innovation. And that's the same problem in Brampton itself. If you look at how our taxation system is set up, one thing I do want to let you guys know is that no matter how much money you take and say, like for example, the Liberals are proposing a certain budget within a 3 or 4 year term. No matter how much money you come and throw at the problem, it's not going to solve the problem if you don't look for national solutions and concrete policies. The way our taxation system is set up is so wrong. If you look at how the resources are distributed, 50% of the money is in the federal level, 42% is in the provincial level, and only 8% is going to the municipal level. So in terms of population growth, Brampton is growing, our needs are growing. So in order to fund for the infrastructural needs, we need to make sure that the money goes to the municipal level as well, so that we can have these developments and innovation and focus on those things that are more important for Bramptonians and Canadians.
And I would add to it, recently we had a Pan American Games which happened across the GTA. There's only city of Brampton which got nothing. 0 events, there was nothing was built in there, but the federal government had a plan, they had projects could be brought to Brampton, but I believe we didn't elect a member of parliament who worked for Brampton. We need to send somebody to Ottawa who would talk to Ottawa or bring the funds Brampton needed to grow, and infrastructure needs to grow, and there are aging bridges and roads need to be replaced or renovated, or they need a repair to be done. So we need to send somebody who can work for Brampton and be Bramptonian.
Thank you. We have one more question from the audience.
Hi, my question is directed at both of the candidates. I'm just curious as to if you believe post-secondary education should be a provincial or a federal responsibility.
Do you want to start us off, Karthika?
Sure. I think it's a federal responsibility. If you look at other economically developed countries that are doing well in regards to economic development, for example, Germany, they have free education. So why can't we just have free education as well? Education should be a basic necessity, and I think we should look at this as a national policy. We can't look at it. We can't keep shoving these problems, thinking at it as a municipal problem or a federal, provincial problem. We have to look at it as a national goal and come up with concrete solutions. And that's what the Green Party is doing. We're coming up with these concrete solutions, and we're not looking at it at a 3 or 4 year term. We're looking at it generation-wise, so that we know that we see the struggles that you guys are going through right now, paying for your tuition fees, and it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. So as I stated, it has gone up by 334%. It's going to get worse. So we have to come up with a solution right now. We can't react after this 4 year term.
I believe this should be a responsibility for both of the governments, but dollar-to-dollar match, which has been doing by provinces would put money, then feds would put same share, but if provinces drops their share, then feds will drop automatically. We need to fix those amounts, that how much they can take away from education. Education was only up to the most of the time to provinces. If they don't put enough money, then Fed won't put that much money, because the dollar-to-dollar match program is there. But there, like we do for healthcare, this education is a very necessity we need to have to move forward in the world. So we move forward in the communities we are living in. So I think that there should be, we need to regulate it, how much cut they can make, if they're making any cuts, or why would they do that.
Sorry, we do have to move on to our closing statements now. We would like to end this debate with a brief closing statement from each of you. Amarjeet, if you'd like to begin.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and I wish my other opponents were here, but unfortunately they didn't make it. But make sure our youths get out and vote. Voting is very important for all of us, and this is how we can show our importance and our presence in the community. And this voting process or the voting rights didn't come very easy. It took a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of our seniors have worked hard for it. And let's exercise our right. I'm your candidate from Brampton South, Amarjeet Sangha, NDP. We have a plans that $15 a day for child care, and $15 minimum wages, and programs for students who needs help in loans or interest-free loans. NDP government will create jobs for youths and for other Canadians. And thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. Karthika?
First of all, I want to thank everyone once again for coming tonight and for giving us this opportunity to speak in front of you. The Green Party's policies are not just for the so-called middle class, it's for everyone. It's for students, it's for seniors, it's for everyone. We have a national senior strategy, we have farmer care, we are abolishing tuition fees, we're coming up with concrete solutions to real problems. Another thing is that I see that everyone is going to be graduating from this program. I'm not sure, first year or second year? Second year, okay. So the next thing you'll look forward to is getting a job. So I think it should be the government's responsibility and also the school's responsibility to connect students to these employment, especially when to get that. Let me put it this way. At the end of the day, when you graduate, people are going to ask, who do you know than what you know? So it's a matter of making sure that you have that job coaching, those skills and the career that you want to go into to give you that guidance as well. So the Green Party is proposing concrete policies as well alongside these policies to look at these issues. So I urge you guys to look into our policies, because we have great policies for everyone. And please remember that when you do vote, I will vote with you and I will vote for you. And we don't believe in whipped votes, so I am going to vote in favor of my constituents when I do vote.
Thank you. That concludes our debates for this evening. Thank you to both of you and all of our candidates for participating. Thank you to our audience and everybody participating online. We as youth have the opportunity to make a difference and have a very prevalent voice. On October 19th, please make sure that you make it to the polls and cast your vote. Please continue the conversation on Twitter at #StudentsVote2015. I'm Quinton Bignell. Good night.